Good evening, and we are going to go over the case study for Module 12, or EDL 852. In this case study, we're going to look at the dilemma facing Susan Porter, the new middle school administrator for the Lightville School District. Your first task will be getting a community-led committee with 4 community members of parents and 4 teachers to build a vision statement, which we know is vital to the success of a school. It's a very small margin that approved for this brand new school, and of course the issues are going to arise with the dilemma of who to construct this vision statement. Legally, nothing here. Ethically, some issues in terms of passing the buck on not listening to your employer. And lastly, of course, the idea of being able to push through something if it's not correct, just to push it through and be done. Synthesized in this case study, we are looking at and focusing on the construction of a vision statement for a contentious middle school in the Lightville Community School District, as well as addressing the conflict in which a vision statement will be constructed between the new principal and the committee that has formed for this task. The facts, people involved. Susan Porter, main protagonist. She is our principal. Looking at from her aspect, Helen Burke is the English and socialist teacher who gives most of the conflict in terms of her decision to push the vision statement construction on Susan. Her brother was key because he was the only farmer to vote for it. Joe Rollins is the superintendent. He'd encouraged the hiring of Susan and the formation of the advisory committee was largely due to him, and this group is made up of 4 teachers and 4 parents. Place, of course, takes place in the Lightville Community School District. Prior to the new building, it was K through 6, 7 through 12, but growing at a 2% rate every year needs modification to their buildings or a new school. They chose new school, and largely due to this, that is why there was a triple split amongst the town. And we are dealing with, of course, a new Rule 68 school setting. Review and prioritize. Section 5, this case presents an opportunity for a large amount of conflict. Susan has made an attempt to have the stakeholders highly involved in the process of the creation of the mission statement. However, the stakeholders did not necessarily agree with her. Although the community has an active stake in a well-crafted vision and mission statement, and is highly important to a highly functional school. As we learned, all relevant stakeholders should and have been consulted. However, it seems they are quick to leave it up to the expert in this case. Developing the school's vision and mission statement are 2 of the most important steps towards creating a successful program. Done well, they will give clarity and direction for a school, which we learned way back in Module 1. I feel that I could use more data. Of course, this is not a whole lot here in terms of data. I can make assumptions about the community, but it's simple guesswork. To have a functional vision statement at the middle school level would be great to know, of course, the vision statement of the elementary school and the vision statement of the high school, because I believe that if they all kind of line up, it would be most helpful for the district especially. And if everyone's working towards the same goals and visions, it makes it easier. Sorry about that. And even without this information, though, I do feel I can construct a decent enough course of action with the information I have presented to me. So let's go over our options. Option 1, of course, is the first choice presented by the committees to vote and have Susan just write the vision statement. And this option is very easy for everybody involved. Susan just sits there and does what she needs to do and writes this out, and the committee pushes it through, rubber stamps it, if you will. And this largely comes from the aspect of what we heard Helen say, and that is that the community respects administrators and relies on them to make these important decisions. Option 2 and option 3 kind of tie into each other. Option 2 is this extreme step would be to replace the committee. Just get rid of them. They clearly do not share her ideals for what this building is, and this gives her that opportunity to bring people in that maybe she respects, maybe could bring those people in too. And create a new committee that would be willing to work with her. Option 3 is force the committee to do Susan's plan all along. Just tell them, yep, I don't really care what you guys voted on. I'm in charge. This is what we're doing. And this will require, of course, more time and alienate the community. The committee. And it would establish, though, that clear separation between boss and employees. Option 4, this would require Susan to reach out for both elementary school principal and high school principal and superintendent to acquire the vision statements for their schools and district. She would then use this information to craft the vision statement for the middle school so that it lines up with the vision of the other schools in the district. Option 5, this option would be to send out a Google Sheet to all the parents of the students who would be coming to the middle school, not only this year, but even in the future. You could include the elementary and middle school. And in this form, she would solicit the ideas and opinions of the community she's serving and get these data and key terms such as maybe lifelong learners, test scores, and values to get a better handle of what's important to the community. The evaluation of options. Option 1, pros, diplomatic. Of course, she's playing the card of, yep, I'm listening to you, I hear you, let's do what you have, let's go. Of course, it's easy. Straight up. However, this is loss of control. This committee has now taken what she wanted to do, and they said, no, we're not going to do it. You're going to do what we want you to do. It kind of sets her up to be shown as someone who's going to be easily pushed around in the future. This goal, of course, it's not how she wanted to do it. This is not how she wants to do it. This is her first job, her first principal's job, not assistant principal, but first head job. And it makes it very hard for her to start off that way. And as we learned in the mission and vision statements earlier on this year, a vision statement should not be drafted in isolation, which is what they're asking her to do. Option 2 and 3, extreme and forceful. Okay, it would allow her to start her way and her time as the administrator as she wanted and how she envisioned, and it would establish her as a person in charge. There would be no question about that. However, it does alienate staff members and community members to take them off a committee or force them to do something they decided they didn't want to do without coming to that realization themselves. And it's time consuming. Finding new members or making them redo this all over again would be very time consuming. Option 4, pros for principal meeting, uniform. A nice uniform vision statement from top to bottom makes the district run a little smoother and do well. I think this is highly useful. Cooperation, of course, establishing that working relationship between the principals of the elementary, middle school, and high school is a great way. They will be dealing with the same students at some point or another. Of course, this will also give a baseline for her to start out. She doesn't know really what's important to the community, but the elementary, middle school, and superintendents would probably have an idea on what's important to the community, and they would be able to share that information with her in this meeting. It is time consuming. Okay, process of meeting and coordinating schedules would require time and effort. Backlash, of course, it would make her seem weak to the community and to her fellow principals. Okay, and of course, they could also refuse to work together. This happens all the time. Maybe they just don't get along, or maybe they think the other one's a bumbling moron. Okay, and could be in the same boat as being forced autocrats. Lastly, option 5, Google Sheets Pro, data. This will give lots of data, which we know data is excellent for crafting those mission and vision statements. Cooperation, this would establish a healthy working relationship amongst the community members and Susan. She's soliciting their information. It clearly shows that she's willing to listen to the community and the parents as well. Plus, the committee itself is also feel like they're listening because she will be crafting the vision statement, but it will be a collaborative effort. Baseline is will give a place for her as this data will give kind of an idea, paint a picture of what's important to the community. It's time consuming. Crafting the questions, getting the data out there, and recording the data and piling it all together. It will take time to do this, but anything worth doing is worth doing right. And of course, there will be backlash possibility. It could be seen, well, why do we need to tell you what's important to us? You're the vision. You're the visionary leader here. You should be able to come up with this stuff. And participation. As we all know, there will be some parents, obviously, that will just basically not choose to participate. But I feel like that's a smaller issue. I believe the 5th option is the best as it allows for input from a large amount of stakeholders. Okay. This choice also allows Susan to construct a collaboratively built vision statement, but in a different way than she had originally planned. I feel it's impossible to get feedback from all of the stakeholders, but this choice makes it possible for a lot more that could be impacted here. I also feel it's a creative option because it allows for the original committee to feel like their choice of putting Susan in charge of constructing the vision statement is there, but Susan also gets the feedback and collaboration that she wants. Both sides are happy. And finally, lastly, it's data driven, which is great for a vision statement and is part of the community. The community is going to help build this vision statement with their choices. And she maintains that authority by choosing an option that's outside of the box that she is going to implement. So, implementing. Step 1, construct the Google Sheet document, push it out to the parents to identify those 5 or more core values. Of course, multiple mark section of maybe 15 to 20 core values could be put together. Some things might include things like integrity, participation, relationships, and lifelong learning, amongst lots of others. Step 2 would be after about 2 weeks, gathering the data, narrow down the top, and then use those to form that baseline of core values in the community, and which would make it easier to construct that vision statement. With the vision statement in hand that Susan crafts, she could then take it along with the data gathered to the committee to get approval. And after committee approval, then would come approval from the board and rollout of that to the community. As we know, the 4 steps to creating a mission statement are soliciting, collaborating, presenting, and unveiling, all of which are met here. Possible pitfalls. Issues, of course, are several issues that may arise from this plan. Okay. First is the lack of participation. Okay. As we know, those kind of things will come in handy and will happen as well. Okay. And of course, it may not be happy because it's not 100% constructed by Susan, but it is what it is. And inform the committee will be involved in the whole process. They'll know about the sheet, they'll have the sheet, and honestly, with the 4 parents especially, they'll be able to fill out the sheet themselves. But it may not work, to be honest. And the community and the rest of the staff will feel much more involved, I think, if they have this option. And the vision statement then will be constructed along with the school's mission statement because, as we know, they are best when constructed together. If this plan does not work, I would plan on referring to option 4 or option 1, as those would be fail-safes that would accomplish the goals of constructing a vision statement, bare minimum. Preference would be option 4, principals meeting, and then option 1, doing what the committee asked and just having Susan create it. Here's the sources that I used. Thank you guys for your time.